Brenda here. I'm going to give you a couple minutes because I've had to change the format. I've had some issues with my phone the last couple days, so it's not letting me log into the actual event. So I'm hoping with some help out there that you guys can come and join me over here in this live stream. So welcome. I'm Brenda Tringali with the Indigo Doors. Welcome to Healing First on the First, this October 1st, beautiful day. So excited to be here. And today I wanted to talk about understanding things. And I wanted to talk about how understanding helps me to feel safe in the world around me, right? And I feel like that's true for so many of us. We want to look at what's going on around us and we want to understand what we see, what we feel, what we think. And in a lot of ways, that's defined for us from others that have come before us. And that can cause a particular challenge when we meet up with those philosophies or belief systems with what we feel and think within ourselves. And then there's this big difference, very big difference between understanding something and knowing something. And what I mean by knowing something is to know something is a greater level of understanding. To know something is the integration of the wisdom of that understanding. And it's incredibly powerful. And it's not necessarily something that can be logically articulated in a linear fashion, meaning that it is an understanding here with our thinking self. It is also the knowing space of our beautiful bodies. It is the, I get that. So sometimes when I'm talking to my sister, I'll say to her, I understand what's healthy here. I understand this, but yet I don't know it yet, right? That's kind of what I'm talking about. And the reason why I'm talking about that is because I want to talk about the patterns and behaviors in our world. And every single pattern, every single behavior has purpose. And understanding or knowing that purpose is our job in being a human being. So let me think about that for a second. So looking at our daily patterns of how we prioritize time, or looking at our choices in where we shop, what we choose to think about. Those things all matter, and they all combine and add up to this experience, this life, right? So in respecting that all patterns and all behaviors have purpose, I invite you to notice them, right? I'm always talking about noticing them, and discover if you would like to shift any of those patterns, if you would like to shift any of those behaviors. And I don't necessarily mean yours necessarily. It could also be how others treat you. It could be experiences that you're just tired of having. That makes sense, right? So there's this noticing the patterns and knowing what you want to do with them. So taking responsibility. Because often in our human experience, we think that we are at the whim of those behaviors, that we are at the whim of those patterns, that we don't have any control. And that, my friend, means that you don't have any control because you don't think that you have any control. So understanding that everything in this world is yours, is your choice. Understanding that you are allowed to change, that you are allowed to have other experiences, that you are not the victim of this culture, of this world, of any belief system, right? And that's why I want to talk about it today. Because the way that we begin to make that change, the way that we begin to heal, is by choosing to release the need for a pattern. I am willing to release the need for insecurity. I am willing to release the need for pain. Now I'm going to maybe specify that pain of being around others, pain of feeling lonely, because pain does serve a purpose, right? Pain helps us know where we need to show up for ourselves, where we need to love ourselves. So specifying that and starting with from a place of power, that I am willing to release the need for whatever behavior. And we actually talked about this in our equinox class last month. And so I'm bringing it through again this October 1st, because this is the most powerful place you can ever be in. And you have so much more power than you've ever been told. So are there patterns in your world? Are there behaviors or experiences that you wish didn't exist? That you wish to change, that you wish to expand, grow into? I would imagine for most of us, the answer to that is yes, unless we're living maybe on a mountaintop, doing yoga every moment of every day, right? There are things that I'm getting better at every single day. And that means being in this place of power where I take responsibility and I choose to say, I am willing to release the need for this pattern. And if you're watching this, I'm going to invite you for a couple of moments. Think about what are those things that you're willing to release. And you don't need to know the why or the how of it. In fact, when we start obsessing about, why is this pattern here? Why is that there? What about this? What about that? We're actually keeping ourselves in that very cycle that we wish didn't exist. Why are those drivers driving like that? I don't know why. Traffic's been really interesting for the last couple days here. So if we obsess about that, if we start telling the story of that, we're actually enmeshed in this victimization paradigm. And that is not a place that I choose to live, right? So I am willing to release the need for being upset over traffic. How lovely is that, right? I am willing to release the need to be impatient. From that place of power is where everything begins to change, where magic begins to happen. And why? Because then we're showing up. Now, I do want to say that you can actually choose this. I am willing to release it from an intellectual space, and it won't really do much until you get it to that heart space, until you're in a position where you are open. And to be open is actually a feeling. It's a releasing. It's a letting go. And I talk a lot about being in flow. And that's part of this. So I am willing to release the need for whatever. Then shifts to, I release the need for this discomfort. I release the need to feel drama or imbalanced when I connect with my childhood, when I connect with thinking about others. So if you notice, I'm willing to release it at first. And that's not necessarily true for all of us. We don't all necessarily need to start from a place of I'm willing to release the need for. We can simply go into I release. And that's not necessarily true with everything. Because sometimes we are in the habit of something. So not only have we learned a pattern or a behavior, we then feel attached to that pattern. And so we don't want to let go. We're kind of in this place where like, you know what? No, like I'm mad. I'm in that. And that's okay. There's no judgment of anything. That's serving a purpose. And you might be meeting up with a part of you that still needs to repair some of that anger or frustration or pain. So it is, listen, I'm willing to release the need for this, whatever. And so then that part of you shows up and says, I'm not letting that go. I'm really mad. So I get to show up because I'm willing to release it. I'm in this position of opening, intellectually, powerfully, I'm choosing it here, and I'm allowing myself to release it here. And by surrendering and being in flow, now I'm in a place of power, where now I'm going to show up for what I need and what I want. So, right, this is healing the self. We are now repairing everything because everything is repairable. And we're showing up for the parts of us that created the pattern and the behavior in the first place. Isn't that amazing? Miraculous, so beautiful. So I'm willing to release the need for, and you, believe me, we all know ourselves a little bit. We know the things that we're really enmeshed in. And I'm like, I don't even know if I've ever not had conflict with that person. I'm not sure that I'm willing to release it. But I'm willing to release. You're going to say that. And then you say, you know what? I release the need for this. You're going to go right into I release. And in that, that's really it. It's that simple. It's not always easy. I release the need for drama. I release the need for loneliness. I release the need for drama. I release the need for relationships that don't fill me. And you will meet up with parts of you that were creating that pattern to begin with, that are part of that. And maybe it's a belief system that, I got hurt in the past and it just seemed like I always got hurt. That's okay. That makes sense. And you're going to just show up for that. But that place of power where you are willing, where you release, what a safe, loving place you're creating with yourself, that you're healing within yourself. And from there, you really simply show up. Not always easy. And simple stuff. And it actually gets even a little bit simpler, because what is the experience of willing to release, right? Because I'm all about the experience. We can't just talk about things. We must have a knowing of it. We must be in the experience of it. And really that is taking a deep breath, letting go, surrendering. So yes, it is aligning your nervous system with that connected space within you, that place of peace, where you're just able to comfortably take 5 deep breaths, and you slow down and you let yourself not think of anything. That's the experience of, I release the need for any drama in my world. I release the need for any toxicity in my world. I release the need for any unloving thought or behavior within myself. I choose love. I choose to love myself. I choose to love others. And the reason why I'm partly bringing this up is that I feel in our humanness, we want to go to the doing space. We want to move to, well, I choose love. I do this. I only accept loving people. I'm going to stop being dramatic. I'm going to stop being on a roller coaster. So we want to go to that doing. And not surprising, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Because we're actually bypassing all of this other stuff that I've been talking about for the last few minutes. You're bypassing the parts of you that might need you, because guess where many of our patterns come from? They come from trauma, and we've all experienced trauma. So trauma is parts of you that need to repair. Isn't that wonderful? It's wonderful because you got this. Because within you is the most amazing healer of you. So that doing space that I really don't even want to talk about yet. I don't want to be there, because I would say more than half the time that by willing to do it, you're naturally going to show up for those parts of you, and you're intuitively just going to start healing it. That doing space that I feel like we spend so much time on, we just jump. Go over here and do this, manifest, choose this. And yes, on those things, I have no judgment of any of them. I'm just kind of inviting you to think about how you might be going about doing this. Because those things are lovely, with an open mind, with an open heart, with a willingness to change, with power. You are powerful. So again, the experience is to just take some deep breaths, And when I'm done here, which I'm going to be done in a couple of moments, I invite you to write out a list. What are you willing to release? What are you releasing? I release the need for drama in my political system. I release the need for drama in the education system. I release the need for drama in the medical model. I release the need for all of these dysfunctions or ways that I interact with the world around me that are unhealthy. I choose to meet up with every institution, every experience, every human being with love. And I'm getting better at that every day. If you feel called, please add your release, whatever you're willing to release, in the comments. I can tell that no one joined me here live, so I hope that you come back and watch it later. And again, I know that we changed the format, so I apologize for that. I hope you are all well. I love you so dearly.